That left 4 people dead in Herkimer County is now dead. Let's listen in to hear what officials now have to say.
8 o'clock this morning. Just to take you back to yesterday, as you recall, Myers shot and killed 4 individuals. He shot and injured 2 others who are still in serious and critical condition in the local hospital. He was tracked to a location, 248 North Main Street, which is an abandoned commercial facility. Sometime after we found his vehicle behind it, we were doing a grid search. He fired shots out from the front of the location. Member of law enforcement returned fire. He fired an additional shot out, and from that time, which was early afternoon yesterday, we've had no contact with the gunman. We had a good perimeter. We believed him to be inside the location, and heavily armed teams maintained a vigil all through yesterday afternoon and all through the overnight. At some point, we sent in some equipment to try to get a visual on him, which we couldn't do due to a lot of debris that was inside the commercial facility. This morning, joint teams from the FBI and the New York State Police tactical teams, shortly before 8 a.m., entered the location with canines as part of the team. And somewhere on the first floor of the location, the gunman began to shoot at the tactical team, struck one of the canines, and fire was returned and exchanged with the gunman from one of the tactical teams. And at that time, the male, Kurt Myers, was shot and killed inside the location. Also, the canine that was struck is also deceased at this time. I don't have a lot of other information to offer you. We have active crime scenes from yesterday. The scene this morning is an active crime scene, and we'll be working on it well through the day. There's a couple other people that I want to give an opportunity to speak, but first I'd just like to thank all of the area law enforcement, our own state police people, and the FBI for a tremendous effort. They did very good work from the initial response to the multiple incidences yesterday to the vigil on the location overnight, and finally the entry this morning. The work by the tactical teams, the FBI team, and the New York State Police team this morning was nothing short of heroic. They did an unbelievable job engaging the gunman in the location. We're happy that there were no additional injuries or deaths other than the canine. Our heart goes out to the handler for the canine and the canine because, as you know, we consider them a part of law enforcement, so, we do feel the loss. But I'd just like to thank all of our law enforcement partners for their tremendous effort. At this time, I'd like to give Chief Malone from the village of Herkimer an opportunity.
First and foremost, our thoughts and prayers go out to the victims and their families. On behalf of the officers and residents of Herkimer and Mohawk, I want to thank all of the local, county, state, and federal agencies that responded here and worked through a lot of hours and some cold temperatures to bring this to a conclusion. And I'd also like to thank the businesses and residents that provided food and assistance to what seemed like a small army here in the village. And again, thank you for everything you've done for us. And I'm going to turn it over to District Attorney Carpenter.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everyone. As you know, it's been a pretty long 25 hours here that we've been on scene with this tragedy. I, too, want to join the Chief in offering my condolences to the victims' families. Our prayers out to the 2 surviving victims. We hope that they recover from this. I, as the District Attorney, have to commend the work of law enforcement, starting with our local law enforcement, the Herkimer Police Department, the Mohawk Police Department, all of the other local agencies that responded and gave assistance. And when a decision was made yesterday, very early on in this investigation by the Chief and I, to reach out to our partners at the State Police, I contacted Major Campbell from the New York State Police, asked him for every available person, and I got far more than I ever expected in a response from the New York State Police. In turn, federal agents became involved in this, the United States Marshals Service, the FBI. I want to thank them. As the superintendent just stated, the actions by the police this morning was very much nothing short of heroic. It is a tragedy that we lost a canine unit, and again, our condolences go out to that handler, as the superintendent said. But as a local resident of Herkimer County for my entire life, we've never seen a tragedy like this that I can remember, and I'm thankful that when something like this does occur, I know that I have partners that are standing behind me that will respond, assist us, and bring an investigation like this to a swift close. And I appreciate all the support from everyone that provided anything in this investigation. And I too thank the local businesses, not only the ones that had to shut down throughout this investigation, but the ones that did provide food and water to those police officers that were out there in unbearable conditions most of yesterday afternoon and last evening. So I thank the law enforcement community, and I'm sure we'll answer a few questions when you're done. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'll take any questions.
Any indication as to why he chose these 6 people in these 2 places?
We still have no information on what his motive is or why he finally chose to come to this location. We don't.
Did the dog have a camera on it when it was sent in?
I can't speak about the tactical team or the tactics used on the entry.
Is that standard operating procedure to send a dog ahead of the actual tactical teams?
Yeah, I mean, often there's canines attached to our tactical teams, and, they're much more acute than, people at locating suspects, especially in, certain types of premises, and I think that's what happened here. And as unfortunate as it is that the canine lost his life, it could have easily been an officer. So,
do you think that your personnel were surprised at all at that he had happened to be still in there, and you're pretty confident?
No, I think we were confident that he was still in there. As I said early yesterday afternoon was the last, what I call contact with the gunman when he fired shots, and law enforcement returned fire with him from in front of the location. And at that time, the building was pretty much surrounded, so we had a very good feeling he was still inside. We deployed gas yesterday a couple times, and he was in a very small room on the first floor, and it's possible that he was able to shield himself against the gas.
There's a report out there that the suspect just was going under a mental evaluation as early as possibly this past weekend. Any information on that?
No, I don't know where that information is generated from. It's not from us, and I have no information on a mental health history.
What kind of guns did he have? How many guns? Did he have anything else in the building with him?
Well, at this time, the only weapon that we do know of, and, we're still processing the crime scene, was the shotgun that was used in yesterday's attacks.
What type of shotgun was it?
I can't say. 12 gauge.
Tell us more about the canine.
Such as?
Name, how long he's been on the force.
I don't have the information on the dog. We could probably provide it to you, but I don't have it.
Was it a German Shepherd or what type of dog?
It was a shepherd, yes.
Are you getting any indications, or have you spoken with any family of Myers as to what was going on, why he might have done this, if they offered any insight?
The only thing that we have on him from our investigation is he's apparently a loner. He didn't have a lot of contact with his family, and the few people that we did find that were relatives, we interviewed some neighbors. Nobody could offer any explanation.
Why was he working someone?
Not that I know of, no.
Why was the decision made to go in this morning as opposed to just keep waiting? What goes into that kind of decision?
Well, I'm not going to get into the tactics deployed, but basically, through the night we maintained a vigil on it to see if the suspect showed himself. And this morning we thought it was the best time to make an entry. Tactical teams were in place from both agencies, and as I said, the K-9 was a part of it, and it was the right time to make an entry.
We had heard that he had a cell phone. Were you monitoring his calls in and out? Did he make any in and out?
I'm not aware of him having a cell phone.
Any of the weapons taken from his house in Mohawk?
No, I mean, there was some talk about weapons that were found outside the building yesterday that was burned. We don't believe they were his. They might have been another resident. Officials who were doing a search of the building.
Did he charge out?
In that residence?
Excuse me?
Did other people live in that residence? Was it like multifamily?
I think there was 2 apartments. I don't have anything further on that.
Did he charge out and shooting at officers?
He, when the entry team was coming through, he first engaged firing shots through the door at the officers, and then ultimately exchanged shots with the officers.
Through a closed door or doorway?
Through a doorway.
Is that after he shoots the dog?
It's all one continuous action.
The doorway of the small room or the front doorway of
the doorway of the small room.
Was he shot multiple times? Shots were fired by both sides?
I don't know how many times he was hit, and I really don't know how many shooters. Like I said, at this time, we're just beginning to process the crime scene. I assume at some point we'll have a lot more information, but we don't. This is just preliminary.
This may be a question for Mr. Carpenter. If you didn't know him, the corrections officer, did you know him at all that was killed at the...
Yes, the current correction officer, I know his family well. I know his father. I know one of his brothers. He was a lifelong resident of Herkimer, and so we certainly lost 4 good citizens in Herkimer County.
For the district, how does the community move on now? I mean, how do you recover from this?
Well, it's a tragedy. It's going to take time to heal. There's no question about that. I think one of the things that the community can grasp onto in this tragedy is that when something like this occurs, our community comes together and we're able to tie resources from outside of this community and address issues like this. And I think that the fact that this ended the way that it did and the fact that it ended as quickly as it did is a testament to the law enforcement community in this community that I would put up as second to none.
The surviving victims, they say what he did when he came in. He said anything when he came in?
I mean, both of the victims are still in the hospital in critical condition, and I'm not prepared to speak about any statements made.
Do we know how long the gunman lived in Mohawk?
I don't have that, no.
Is it believed he had any familiarity with any of the people he targeted or shot at?
At this time, we don't think so. We think they were unprovoked and random.
Did you legally obtain the weapon used?
I don't have the information on the weapon.
Do you know when, do you have an idea when he first entered this room, the veteran became the standoff building?
Well, right after the shootings, he, after the shooting in the car wash lube facility, he drove to this location and he abandoned his vehicle somewhere behind. Officers who were on patrol looking for the vehicle spotted it and were beginning to do a grid search when the shots were fired at them through the front. So we think immediately after the shooting in the lube facility, he drove here and he's been there ever since.
Who's familiar with the area? Is that accurate?
Assuming he's familiar with the area.
Was he shooting from the same floor where he ultimately was shot this morning?
Yes.
And it was the first main ground floor?
This morning all took place on the first floor. Don't know where he was overnight or, what other parts of the building he was in during the standoff.
How long did the operation take? It sounds like it went very quickly.
Yeah, it was a matter of minutes from the time that the tactical teams deployed. He engaged them almost immediately.
Was it easy to figure out which room he was in once you were in the building?
I wasn't part of the team. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of debris because the building's been abandoned for a long time, and as they were making their way through the first floor, he engaged them.
Was there a reason they waited until morning to go in?
Again, I don't want to speak about the tactics used or why the decisions were made. It just seemed like it was the appropriate time.
And do we know his criminal history?
He's got one previous arrest from, I believe it's 1973, for a DWAI in the town of Webb. That's all we know of.
Bar that the shooting took place in?
The former Glory Days bar.
Yeah, all within the bar facility, I guess.
Yeah, on the main floor. Yep.
And that happened, was it about 4 a.m.? Is that when you started it? Is that when he was actually...
No, it all took place shortly before 8 a.m. this morning, and it really unfolded and was concluded in a matter of minutes.
He was found with just his weapon on him? Did he have anything else on him?
I'm not familiar because we haven't had a good opportunity to process the crime scene. We know he still had the shotgun with him that was used in yesterday's attacks, and that's all I could speak on.
Any weapons in his vehicle that was located?
We haven't continued. We're still processing crime scenes. We don't have any other weapons recovered.
Was the dog a police or FBI canine unit? You know?
I'm not sure.
The incident on Gray Street or Gray Ave yesterday afternoon, police were there, surrounded the home, and then went back. Can you describe what was going on there? Why the police that area had the attention of police?
I can answer that. That was a report of an individual that returned home.
Well, I'm not going to get into the makeup of the teams or the tactics used. They are highly trained teams. It was a joint effort by the FBI and the New York State Police, and it was done cooperatively.
There was an armored vehicle, if you will, that speeding down shortly after we believe the dog might have been in there. Was there an effort to try to, if you go somewhere and try to save him, was he dead on the scene?
I have no information on that.
Did he have any extra ammunition with him in that story?
Well, in New York State, you don't need to be registered to own a long gun such as a shotgun.
How formidable an adversary was he for law enforcement? I mean, obviously he's lethal and whatnot, but, you know, what sort of fight did he put up?
Yeah, you know, I know nothing about his training or his habits or, you know, how good he was with a weapon. Obviously, he fled to this location. He stayed. He didn't make any attempts during the night to escape or to engage law enforcement. But obviously, he was there and he was ready.
Is it normal to wait this long, 15 hours, before going in and engaging?
Usually when you have a barricaded suspect and there's no innocent hostages or any civilians involved, safety is our paramount concern. And, we're always prepared to wait it out as long as we need to make sure that no members of law enforcement are hurt or injured as a result.
Forgive me if you know this. Was there contact with him? Was there kind of negotiations, try to get him out?
No, there was, as I said earlier, there was no contact from the time that he fired shots at the officers in front of the building yesterday afternoon to the time that he engaged the tactical team.
Did he have any military service?
Unknown.
No evidence anybody else planned this or executed?
No. As of now, we know what we know. It's just him, and we don't know the reason for his actions. And, we would hope that somewhere in the course of investigation, we learned something more about him or what motivated him.
Has he recently had a relationship?
Unknown.
What kind of services are being provided to the witnesses who watch these horrible actions happen right in front of them?
Are we talking about the civilians from yesterday?
Yes.
Well, I know that my office has been contacted by the Office of Victim Services, and obviously until just a short time ago, our focus of law enforcement was to bring this investigation to a close, and I suspect that when the other additional factor here is that this building was shut down yesterday and remains shut down even as we speak at this point in time. So my staff hasn't even returned to the office. But I assume once my staff is in place, we are going to reach out to the victims' families and provide whatever support we can. I know the Red Cross will be involved. Catholic Charities locally will be involved. We have a lot of agencies that will work with us to assist these folks.
Anyone know if Myers, I don't know if you addressed this, ever patronized either of these businesses?
There was some information that may have led us to believe that he had been in either of those establishments in the past, but that has not yet been confirmed.
Can you talk about the fact that how quick it was? I mean, there was the fire, the first shooting, which was in Mohawk, and then obviously in Herkimer, and then the chief still, I believe, the chief in both villages still?
Correct.
You are. Was the response time just, I mean, by the time you got to the barbershop, was he already in Herkimer? Just kind of walk us through how quick it unfolded.
Yes. It unfolded in minutes. It didn't unfold in minutes. The fire was set while the officers were responding there. They arrived at the scene and they received reports of gunshots at the barbershop. They began responding there, and shortly after getting there in Herkimer, we received reports of shots being fired at Gaffey's Jiffy Lube.
How difficult is that? I mean, your departments aren't that large, probably, especially on a Wednesday.
That's why we call on, ask for help and resources from state police. Obviously, we were overwhelmed instantly, both places.
Do you think he set that fire intentionally to try to draw emergency crews?
I wouldn't even want to comment on that. We have no idea.
I'd just like to close by saying that, the violence that was inflicted yesterday by the gunmen on these innocent victims was truly horrible. Our hearts and our feelings go out to these people and their families. all of our victims. We're just grateful that there were no additional injuries or death by any people, including law enforcement. And again, I'd just like to thank all our law enforcement partners for the tremendous effort here. As we get more information, we'd be happy to push it out to you, but really, that's all we have right now. So, thank you.
Will there be any more press conferences? I'll let you know.
And there you heard it right now. Officials are leaving a press conference in Herkimer where they were talking about what unfolded this morning with the suspect in yesterday's deadly shooting rampage. Police say that today they were able to go inside that building where he was. We're talking about Kurt Myers. And then when they went inside, they say that he actually fired a shot and that killed a police dog. That's when they fired upon him, and he is dead from that shooting with police this morning. Police also saying that they still have no motive of why the suspect yesterday killed 4 people in 2 different locations. 2 people are still in the hospital right now. And for the latest, as we continue to follow the investigation into what unfolded here, you can always stay with our website, cnycentral.com.